Southeast leading Orlando Magic are on quite a roll as they steamrolled the Washington Wizards last night. That's your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. I'm Sam.
At 9:58, it's 67 degrees. Time at 10 brought to you by Bueller Air Conditioning. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Obviously, you make tough decisions at the end of the season, and you evaluate, as a head coach, you evaluate a lot of different things. And, made some tough moves, tough decisions. Appreciate what those guys have did for me and for the Jaguars the last 2 years. And then my focus was, to get the next group of guys in there.
We've got a lot of work to do this offseason. I had a meeting with Kelvin the other day in my office. I had a great talk with Kelvin, know exactly where he's at, and he knows where we're at. So we're just going to continue to work with all these players and try to come to some form of compromise, some form of resolution as the weeks go on.
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your hosts Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, and Dylan Denmark.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Good morning to you. Jaguars Today off and moving on this Thursday, March 7th. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark here for the next couple of hours, talking all things Jacksonville Jaguars, joined by some of our good friends today. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
How are things?
It's all good.
Repping those Braves today.
Yeah.
We're
getting close, just a few weeks away now.
I'm repping the Moccasins, the Mighty Mocks, Florida Southern, baby. You'd think I'd get a free shirt out of the whole deal, all that tuition, but no.
No?
I'm like, I've spent a lot in their school bookstore / apparel department. I got a lot of T-shirts showing off where my money is headed these days. So anyway, good morning, everybody. We've got today Hayes Carline joining the program about 40 minutes from now. Jonathan Cyprian is going to stop by. Remember Sip?
Oh, yeah.
Very well. Sip squad here for 4 years, early in his career as a second-round draft pick of the Jacksonville Jaguars, then went to the hated Tennessee Titans for a season and spent some time with Atlanta, Philadelphia, the San Francisco 49ers, but is back in town today, going to sign a one-day contract, retire as officially a member of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I saw him put out there on social media that if anybody has the time and the inclination, he'll be down at the Jaguars statue today outside the stadium at 2:30 signing autographs, and he'll give away at that point a game-used signed jersey. So there you go.
Yeah.
I'm going to presume that's not from the Titans days. I'm going to assume that's a
not
Jaguars.
Not from the lone year there with Tennessee.
I'm going to assume that's the case. So anyway, Jonathan Cyprian coming up here in a few minutes, and we'll look back on his 4-year tenure with the Jacksonville Jaguars and whether he thinks they can get to the promised land anytime in the near future. Listening today, I think we've kind of touched on this a little bit over the last 24 to 48 hours, but I heard the way Matt Hayes put it yesterday on XL Primetime, Tony, maybe the moves that we've seen and the way it timed out with Trent Baalke, maybe it's a case that, where, as he says, we'd like Calvin back, and we keep hearing that quote. We know where Calvin is. He knows where we're at. Maybe he knows that we're not going to play in that financial ballpark, whatever that happens to be, right? Because those projections are all over the place, right? One day, we hear Mike Evans signed for $26 million. We got a bunch of people telling us I'd sign Calvin Ridley for that and give up the second-round pick. Then we find out that's not really what the market was. It was like $20.5 million. I've seen contract projections for him that'll come in under $20 million a year. I don't believe that necessarily, I especially because, the fact that he stands at the top, I believe most people will see him as at the top choice in free agency, will probably drive the price up and he'll get overpaid to some degree. But, we've seen reports that the Jags would have been a player for Mike Evans.
Yep.
Right? Seen report that the Jags are one of like 7 teams interested in acquiring L'Jarius Sneed from Kansas City via trade. You're not making the Mike Evans deal if you're signing Calvin Ridley back. You don't have that kind of money to tie up in that one position, right? Because Christian Kirk, even if you moved on from Zay Jones, you only realized about $5 million in cap savings. So I wonder, Tone, if they're like, hey, we would like Calvin back, and maybe we'll be surprised at what the market is, but based on what his expectations are, it's probably not that realistic. And maybe that the lack of urgency, and I'm not saying that there was no urgency because it seemed like they really tried to sprint to the finish line to get Josh Allen done so they'd at least have the franchise tag to use on Calvin Ridley to keep him in place. Maybe they felt like, you know what? It's an overpay. $22 million is not what we want to give, even if it's only for 1 year, because it does seem like from these reports like the Jags are at least loading up the chambers to go after one possible big-name guy out there.
I think that's the real indication of all these different reports, right? That they're in on Evans, that they're in on possibly being a team interested in trading for Snead, all these different things. It makes me more confident that they're willing to do some kind of splash move, right? Like they are really locked in on one thing somewhere where that's where they're putting the chips towards the middle of the table, right? It's, it came down in the last half hour or so, Ian Rappaport saying they're re-signing Daniel Thomas. That doesn't move the needle, right, for the Jaguars fans. Yay, special teams will still be what they are,
right?
Because he is a really good special teams player, and it's not that it doesn't mean anything, and he can play safety for you if you need him to. He doesn't hurt you all that much when he's on the field, so it's not a bad move for them to bring back a guy like Daniel Thomas. But it does feel like, a few weeks ago when you may have had the idea in your head, well, they're not going to make splashes. I think they're going to make at least one. Or
at least try to make one.
Like where that's going to happen, I don't know. It's really hard to tell. Would signing Calvin Ridley be enough of a splash? Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, look, at this point,
because you are going to have to spend something around $20 million, it would look like, to get him.
If the Jags had signed Josh Allen and franchise tag Calvin Ridley, do you think they'd be making a big signing? I could see like a $10 million. Like, it depends on what you define as big, too, right? I mean, like, what is Ezra Cleveland going to get? What are some of these interior linemen going to get in free agency? I don't know. Yeah, you look at Foley Fatukasi. He's yesterday's news, right? Well, he's already visited with the Texans and has a visit lined up with the Bills. Now, when you're a vet and your contract doesn't expire and you're released like that, you can negotiate with teams right away, right? So,
and that tells you that Foley's been released, right? Even with the team not putting that information out in the email yet, they've released Foley if he's talking to.
But it also tells you that one man's trash can be another man's treasure, or at least bargain shopping opportunity, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean just because Foley Fatukasi wasn't worth $10 million a season here in Jacksonville doesn't mean he can't play in the National Football League. And obviously teams are recognizing that. And this is a Bills team that is,
they had a busy Wednesday.
Boy, I mean, whacked a bunch of guys that, and people, and somebody made a good point. I think just someone I kind of randomly saw on social media that people always say the salary cap's fake. Well, to a certain point, it can be manipulated. To a certain point.
Yeah. And
then the Bills come due, and no pun intended, Buffalo is dealing with that right now and releasing guys like Mitch Morse, who's their starting center, So there is a good market. I see Demetrius Harvey. I think it was Demetrius, and he and Ship are both on this John Shipley, both on this angle. Don't you dare draft an interior offensive lineman in the first round, right? And that's fine. Like, and I get their reasoning, and I'm oversimplifying their point of view. They're not saying this team doesn't need it. They're saying that there's a rich group of these guys potentially in free agency, and those aren't the sexy names usually, but the Jags are at least sniffing around some sexy locales there with Evans and L'Jarius Sneed. And L'Jarius Sneed, I mean, you want to talk about an investment. Guy's going to cost you maybe a second-round pick, maybe a couple of third-round picks, something like that, in addition to
whatever you got to pay him.
Pay him $20 million a year.
Yeah.
I don't know what the market is exactly for L'Jarius Sneed in terms of the price, but it's going to be near the top. Now, it's funny because we all thought Ryan Nielsen, he plays a bunch of man, right? He likes to man up his corners, and we're going to press. And then during his introductory press conference, he's like, oh, you think that? Good. Right? In other words, we're doing a good job disguising it because we actually play a lot of zone with some man concepts. I saw yesterday L'Jarius Sneed was the highest graded cornerback in zone coverage in the National Football League this year. So, and obviously they're not going to go, hey, let's go give up draft capital, crazy contract, and bring in L'Jarius Sneed without checking with the new defensive coordinator whether or not he thinks he's a good fit for what he's doing here. So
as dysfunctional as you think it might be, I don't think it's
that level, right? I mean, right. There's some basic communication that goes on, we would hope. But anyway, just thinking about that, there have been some connections with the Jags with some bigger name guys, and a week from now, will the Jags have signed somebody? Possibly. If not, it's bargain season again, right? I mean, if you don't get anybody by this point, this will be a full day. This will be after 2 days of legal tampering, which took place after the week of illegal tampering at the Combine, and then 24 hours to get guys under contract, or a little less than that at this point next week. But nevertheless, all right, today's Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day, pretty close poll right now. We had a lot of feedback on yesterday's poll. We got over 1,100 votes on that. We'll look back at that one as we go along here. But today, we're asking you, it's an either or, but we need a little bit more information, if you don't mind. As things stand right now, is there a player that you would be okay with the Jaguars trading up for in the NFL draft? Assume normal trade prices. Now, I can't tell you what that exactly means.
No.
But we'd all, if it costs a 7th-round pick to be able to move up high enough to get Marvin Harrison Jr., we do it,
Yeah,
right?
I think
right?
so, yeah.
So it's got to be reasonable. And some people have said Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm curious, what are you willing to give up to get to the top 4, maybe the top 5 if it falls a certain way, but likely the top 4 to get Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, Malik Neighbors could go 4 potentially. We've seen some of that as well. But there was a mock tone that came out that got us thinking along these lines that had the Jags trading up to 12 to take Quinion Mitchell, the Toledo cornerback. And I started thinking, man, we've talked about how many guys are likely to be there at 17 that you'd say, oh, you know what? I can live with that guy. I can be all right with that guy being my selection there. So many that you think trade back is a strong, not necessarily likelihood, but a desired outcome, right? Add some draft capital. In this trade, the Jags gave up their 2nd-round pick, number 48, and went back to Denver's 3rd, which I think was number 76 overall. So is it worth it for a 5-spot move for a corner who possibly could fall to you anyway? And if not him, maybe Terry and Arnold will be there. Maybe Nate Wiggins will be there. Now, granted, you may not like those guys as much, and that's why we asked the question, is there that one person you would be okay with the Jaguars trading up for, assuming normal trade values come into play? And there was an example. I don't think that's that out of whack, giving up a 2nd, getting a 3rd in return to move up 5 spots in the middle of round 1. If you do say, yes, there is a guy, just give us a reply with who that player is that really moves the needle for you, and there may be more than one. So, yes, I'd move for the right guy. No, we have too many holes to fill. Those are the 2 options. So even if that's not exactly the reason why you'd say no, yes, no is a pretty good representation of how you feel about that one today. So if you want to get on board, you can vote in that poll at MD_1010XL on X. Don't forget at 1010XL Fat Tony and at 1010XL Denmark.
I broke my back.
What happened, Pockets? Now
what do you mean by that? You broke
back is broken.
Oh,
a vertebrae or what portion?
Spinal.
I've heard this a couple times this morning. What is this from? That I missed?
Mike Tyson. I forget which fight this is from.
There's an old Mike Tyson broke his back. It sounded like Tyson. He's going to fight
Tyson.
Jake Paul, right? I mean, shouldn't he destroy Jake Paul? I mean, Jake Paul. I'll give Jake Paul. Jake Paul's gotten in the ring, and he actually feel like he trains and he went from being an influencer to a guy who decided I'm going to be a boxer and other things.
I think virtually the entire world will be pulling for Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know that that's always been the case for the last 25 years for Mike, when he's been in the ring. But I think in this one, everyone's going to be pulling for Iron Mike. No doubt.
You would think, man, Mike Tyson, anyway, not even going to go down that road. You know what? We got our own fish to fry today, and that includes a conversation with Jonathan Cyprien, going to join us right after this very first break. Sip getting ready to retire on a one-day contract as a member of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll talk to him about that, why he made that decision, and how you can get a Sip autograph if you want to go swing by the stadium this afternoon as well and get some thoughts on the current state of affairs with the Jacksonville Jaguars as well. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, and Dylan Denmark here with you. Don't forget the Hammer Hayes Carline coming up at 10:40 this morning. We've got the question of the day out there. Let's talk Jags for the next 2 hours here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today.
From the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios at 1010XL.
Do you know what the secret of life is?
No, what?
One thing. Just one thing.
What's the one thing?
1010XL.
Imagine driving a late model Corvette, BMW, Mercedes, Lexus, Honda, Chevy, Ford, and more, all at a fraction of the original sticker price. Visit Vaughn Motor Group's indoor showroom and browse a great selection of dream cars that are inspected with warranties. Before you make your next auto purchase, check out Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard or at vaughnmotorgroup.com for a complete inventory listing. If you can dream it, you can drive it at Vaughn Motor Group.
If you are having problems related to selling your home, here's your solution. You just have not discovered ChadandSandy.com. That's ChadandSandy.com. Listen, maybe the problem is you need more space for your office or growing family, or perhaps you're worried about settling for less money with a lowball instant offer. We've got one guarantee here that always rings true. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. It's as simple as that. So you need to call 904-414-6200 or go to ChadandSandy.com like Jonathan in Mount Pleasant did. The only thing standing between me and my dream of traveling in my RV was the sale of my Mount Pleasant home. I heard Chad and Sandy on the radio and called. Crazy results. In just 3 days, I received multiple offers for full asking price. So you don't have the problems you think you do. You have solutions and promises with Chad and Sandy. Go to ChadandSandy.com or call 904-414-6200 at ChadandSandy.com.
Certainly facing challenging economic times. I can't speak for all of us, but for me, comforting to know my money is in good hands with ITP Partners. Ticket here for ITP Partners. Jacksonville guys taking care of my Jacksonville money. I'll admit it, I don't understand a ton about the economy. Higher interest rates, 401ks, but I do know as I move closer to retirement, I continue to watch my money grow. Thanks to Chris Bryan, Jeff Hartman, Reagan Wright, Dan Abel, and Reed Wingate. Get in the game, guys. ITP Partners, always there to help. For more info, Chris at ITPPartners.com or call 904-312-9751.
Exciting news from Leonard Truck Accessories in Jacksonville on Blanding Boulevard. Stocking brands like Real Truck, UWS, WeatherGuard, Carry-On Trailers, and more. The best deals with the best prices only at Leonard Truck Accessories on Blanding Boulevard. Leonard, your truck, your style.
The All-Pro Roofing phone line connects you to some of the most sports-connected minds in the country.
You mean you can actually contact these people?
Listen for great phone interviews all day on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
We'll talk on the phone.
On 1010XL.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. When getting pens with your company's logo on them, get nice pens. No one wants to steal a pen that doesn't work. Check them out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Duck Duck Rooter is now hiring plumbers. We offer excellent weekly pay, paid holidays, health insurance, 401k, and so much more. Apply now at duckduckrooter.com. That's duckduckrooter.com and click on the careers page. Duck Duck Rooter is an equal opportunity employer.
This is Joe C. from XL Primetime and stoked to crank up the 9 after 5 once again at the Golf Club of Southampton. Every Wednesday, a little after 5, the gang at Southampton will be hosting us with a new game, and I'm inviting you to be a part of it. Now, through the summer stretch, break up the week with a little hump day fun every Wednesday. Call 287-PLAY to get on the tee sheet. There'll be food afterwards and prizes, including playing for a membership at the Golf Club of Southampton. Call 287-PLAY and hit the tee with Joe C.
It's Kubota Orange Days, your golden chance to score a deal that will make your neighbors green with envy. Shop the year's best selection of Kubota tractors, zero-turn mowers, and utility vehicles, including the #1 selling compact tractor in the USA. And get the year's best deals, like 0% APR for 84 months, or up to $3,300 off L3302 tractors. Coastal Equipment on New Kings Road and in McClenny.
Coastal Equipment.
The First Coast Games is an annual corporate challenge to introduce fun activities into the workplace and focus on your employees' health and wellness goals, with some friendly competition, of course. Registration is now open through the First Coast YMCA for both recreational and challenge divisions, including pickleball, cornhole, volleyball, flag football, and other team sports. The games will begin in March. Register your company and teams at fcymca.com. jaguarstoday.org.
Hi, this is Carrie, the office coordinator at the dental practice of Dr. James J. McCall. Dr. McCall, along with me and my fellow team members, are committed to making your visit to the dentist a pleasant one. From scheduling, filing insurance, or reviewing treatment options, you're always our number one priority. When we say join our dental family, we believe it in our hearts. If you are looking for a dentist in a warm and relaxed atmosphere, call the dental office of Dr. McCall at 620-9225.
Hey, it's Tony from Tony D's Pizza. If you love our pizza and pasta dishes, let us cater an event for you. Family function or office parties, we can deliver you an amazing Italian meal. Remember, it's not just pizza at Tony D's. Bay Meadows and $2.95.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line. Now, more Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, here we go. Jaguars Today. Hayes Carline about 20 minutes away. We'll get back on to all things Jags. But today, going to focus in on a former Jaguar, soon to be a forever Jaguar, as he will sign a one-day contract and retire as a Jacksonville Jaguar, officially a second-round pick of the Jags in 2013 out of Florida International, Jonathan Cyprien. Sip, as he is better known around all parts. What's up, Sip? Good morning. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Fantastic. Good to have you back in Jacksonville. And just tell us about the decision. What prompted the decision for you to know that the career is definitely over? I mean, you're 33 years old. A lot of guys still playing at this age, but you haven't played in a few years. Why the decision now to make it official as a member of the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Yeah, so, I decided to do this after one of my last injuries playing in the season of 2020-2021, which was COVID. And I knew I was going to walk away from the game, but as far as doing it properly, really I was just waiting for the right opportunity. When it comes to the football season, you can't just decide to retire and walk in the building and make it happen. There's certain times during the year, this being one of them, where they're making cuts for the draft, for free agency. So this is one opportunity that it came around just on the calendar year. And it was just time to do it officially. I think, it means a lot. And I'm just thankful for the organization to give me that opportunity.
Do you still get the itch to get back out there when training camp rolls around on the calendar each year, Sip?
Not at all. Not at all. You know how long I've been playing this game, and if I had an itch, it would be more for a game rather than a training camp.
Right on. No, nobody's missing camp. Right. Hey, so, Jonathan, in your time here, man, I always felt like you were a popular guy with the SIP squad and all that. How did you feel like the fans treated you here in your 4 seasons in Jacksonville, and what are some of your favorite memories of that time?
I mean, as a young man coming into the NFL, this is the first team that I ultimately played for, and it not being too far away from my hometown. Of course, that's a great feeling, and I can just remember the mindset I had is to go into an organization and just give them everything I got. I was always that type of player, and it got me real far. I think it did me well when it came to Jacksonville as well. I was able to lead our team, even though we were very young. We had a new head coach, new GM and Dave Caldwell, and even new owners, right? So not only myself, but the whole team had a lot to learn and a lot of growing pains. But, with those, it just makes things a lot sweeter. And just great times as far as, draft day, my draft class, starting with Luke Jokel, myself, Josh Evans, Ace Sanders, Demetrius McCray, Jeremiah. I mean, yeah, all of us, and just coming in and taking that huge task of us to say, hey, let's turn this whole organization around. It was a great experience. Just coming out that tunnel is always going to be memorable.
Do you have a favorite on-field playing memory from your time here in Jacksonville?
On-field playing memory, yeah, I'd say I guess I have to say, off the top of my head, my first ever interception, we were in Cleveland, and I was able to get an interception. I think at this time, Josh Gordon was literally like doing crazy, and I think Brian Hoyer was the quarterback, and we were able to take that. We were able to catch my very first interception, which was special to me that day. I don't think we got the entire win, but we were coming back close after it being a tough one. But that's just one. Another one is when we finally beat the Indianapolis Colts, and I think we put 50 points on them at home after them beating us over and over again. I think it was like 6 times in a row, and we were able to break that streak. That was huge. Those are just two things that pop in my mind automatically.
Hey, talking here with Jonathan Cyprien for a couple more minutes, and we want to let you know how you can see Sip this afternoon. But Sip, just it wasn't all you, man. I mean, it's just an era of Jaguar football when you guys didn't win as much as you would have liked, right? And then you leave in 2017, everything fell into place for them, and it's happened a couple of years in the last 15. But here you are today. You're retiring as a member of this organization. We are going to presume you want the best for the Jaguars in the future. What is the thing that they're missing the most right now? If you could give them something to get them over the hump from being a good team to a really contending team, what would that be?
That's a great question. When I came into the league, a lot of reporters like yourself would ask me what was it that we needed to do to become winners. And, I had to be honest and say, look, I haven't won yet, so I can't tell you yet. But during my career, as soon as I find out, I'll be certain to make sure I take that on with me. And as I left and played for a team where we went into the playoffs, and I went to different organizations who has a history of winning when it comes to Philadelphia Eagles, San Francisco 49ers, and the playoff I'm mentioning is when we when we did pretty well, won the playoff game, went to the second round, and ended up losing to the Patriots, was with Tennessee Titans. I can say one thing about those organizations, about those teams that I was a part of, is that they had true veteran leadership. Not only they were leaders, but they were great players, like a Brandon Graham when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, or a Brian Orakpo and a Jarrell Casey, a Tennessee Titans. These guys were not only leaders for a team, but they were actually making plays on the team and leading by true example. And you have young guys that are very talented and have that hunger like I did as a rookie coming to Jacksonville to be able to feed off of and want to be able to just live up to those expectations and try to be that person when they grow up. When they get older in their career. And I even take that farther back to when I played in high school football. I played in high school, and I had great guys who played before me where I wasn't able to touch the field, but I saw what they did. And I felt like when it was my turn, when I became a senior, I did everything they did it more. But I don't think I'd be able to do it if I didn't see what they did before me. So, that's what I think it takes to kind of put people over the top as a winning organization.
Mike mentioned a few moments ago how well 2017 went for the Jaguars. Obviously, they get all the way to the AFC Championship game. You had a pretty good year there in Tennessee that season too. But how close or far away were you from getting a deal done here with the Jaguars after that 2016 season when you wound up signing with Tennessee?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't have too much conversation with Jacksonville. I think, we were at a time where they were ready to go. We were ready to go our separate ways. So, when it came to the negotiation table, I was free to explore other options. And the Tennessee Titans and Mike Mularkey and John Robinson, they believed in me. They saw what I was able to do to them year after year, playing in the same division. And I sat in their office, and, they asked me that question too, but ultimately they believed in what I can do, and I went there, and I'm very grateful for that.
All right.
Not only that, but my time in Jacksonville.
Sorry, Sip, didn't mean to cut you off there, man. I just wanted to make sure. I know you got things to do today. It's a big day for you, man. So, we congratulate you for coming back and having this honor. So tell us how this is going to go down. I know you put out there on social media, that's how I became aware of this, that you've invited folks down if they have the time today to come on the west side of the stadium by the Jaguars statue, and you'll sign autographs. You're going to give away an autographed game-used jersey today, right?
Yeah, I will actually. It's going to be a private ceremony with just the team, with the organization, myself, and my family as we sign the one-day contract. Take a few photos, have something for our memories. But I figure while I'm here on my last day, why not, talk to the SIP squad a bit. And on my way out, I figured I'd meet some fans that felt like they wanted to come out and get a few autographs. And I figured I'd just give a jersey out while I'm here. It's not my last time. It might be my time signing this contract, but I'll be back for games. I'll be a part of the city of Jacksonville for life, just like your university. You never lose your university. I never lose the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm excited about today and just want to continue to be a part of the community and give back when I can.
Hey, we're happy for you, man, and that's a cool thing, and you're always welcome here in Duval, as you well know, and we look forward to seeing you maybe at some alumni weekends and things like that in the future. But enjoy today, man, as you look back and you're kind of closing the book on that NFL career, and I'm sure great things for you in the future as well. But we appreciate you taking a few minutes out with us this morning, Sip.
No problem. Good luck to you guys, and I'll see y'all soon.
You got it, buddy. And, he's got the best social media handle practically of anybody, at CYP, Tony. Yeah. That's it. There you go. You're going to find him. Breaking news from Ian Rappaport. The Jaguars have agreed to terms on a new 3-year deal with Ezra Cleveland, worth $28.5 million, $14.5 million guaranteed. Don't know what that salary cap hit will look like in the first year, but there's a chunk of that money, right? So you're talking about, $9.5 million per. You would think that first-year number would come in something less than that, probably, maybe in the 6 or 7 range, something like that, if they had approximately $20 million under the cap. So, for all I know, they could set it up where he's got an even smaller year one hit. We just don't know. I do find it interesting. Rappaport wrote it, the Jaguars and standout guard Ezra Cleveland have agreed to terms on a new 3-year deal worth $28.5 million.
These national news guys, oh my goodness.
Fine. They wanted him back. They traded for him. They identified him as the type of lineman that they wanted. At times last year, late in the season, we didn't see a whole lot of consistency with anybody. The same group of linemen playing together. But Tony Baselli at times said, "Hey, Cleveland looked like he was playing some of the best football among the offensive linemen." So hopefully that is one hole that will be filled, not only just filled with a name, but filled with a good player who's going to be around here for a little while. Tony is in his mid-20s, and it was a screaming position of need. Now, all the indications have been Brandon Sheriff seems like he's coming back. So guard falls down significantly on your list of needs right now, even though you can imagine Sheriff any season that he's here could be his last year.
For sure.
But you've also got Cooper Hodges, who you drafted late last year, and if you do bring back Sheriff for another season, it gives you that kind of cushion to develop Cooper Hodges and find out, do we have another future cheap alternative at right guard?
And maybe the best news of all, they are capable of trading for a player and signing him to an extension. They are capable of doing
it. It
that.
happened.
Yeah.
So there's that, right? Well, it wasn't the one you were maybe hoping to hear about.
Probably not. Yeah.
Among those, I think a lot of people anticipated Ezra Cleveland would be back, and so that's the direction they went. Your thoughts on that? We'll get Hayes Carline's thoughts on it coming up in just a minute as he joins us live about 8 minutes from now as we talk all things Jaguars. So thank you to Jonathan Cyprian for taking time out to stop by again. If you want to go run into Sip this afternoon, go down to the stadium west side out by the Jaguars statue. He'll be signing autographs at about 2:30 today. Pockets just gave me the west side, Tony, the little hand signal right there. You can just flash that right in front of Pockets cam if you want there, Pockets.
You got to interlock your middle finger and your ring finger.
I know.
Well, there's some people, I'm not going to name names of this radio station, that don't know how to throw the West Side. And
Are you talking about Hacker? This has got to be a Hacker
no,
thing.
It's Graham. He throws up the W like Wisconsin, your two thumbs together with two
What?
hands. Yeah, every time I see it, I want to punch him in the face.
That's for what? That's ridiculous. Of course you interlock the middle fingers, man. What are we doing here? Even I know that. Tragically unhip. All right, Ezra Cleveland, here's the news of the day for the Jaguars. A 3-year deal worth $28.5 million, according to Ian Rappaport. And remember, sometimes these initial values are not quite what they're cracked up to be. So is it 28.5? Is there any, playing time incentive in there that maybe that makes the total value of the deal 28.5? We don't have all the details, but Ezra Cleveland is back with the Jags. So
Daniel Jones and Cleveland getting done today. We'll see if they have anything else that they're planning on doing today.
Right, exactly. So Daniel Thomas. Yeah. That's right. And I don't think even at Daniel Thomas's rate. I guess at Daniel Thomas's rate, we take Daniel Jones, but not at his current value. So, all right, the Jags cleared some cap space, and they've used some of that cap space. That doesn't mean they still can't be a player for one of these other guys, because I'm sure in the back of their mind, this was a move that they anticipated making, whatever the final dollars would be.
Yeah.
So now, we hear reports of them sniffing around Mike Evans, L'Jarius Sneed. We know Evans is off the market. Sneed may be available for a tag and trade type situation. Will they still make a play for a guy out there who's not currently with the Jags? And that would include Calvin Ridley, who currently is with the Jags, but soon won't be. At least we'll have the ability to test free agency. All right, so Ezra Cleveland back with the Jags for the next 3 years, at least under contract for the next 3 years. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, and Dylan Denmark here with you. It's Hammer Time next with Hayes Carline stopping by. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. You want to look better? Summer's coming. Spring's almost here. I mean, look, I understand it, right? You want to walk around without being embarrassed. Maybe, you can take your shirt off, guys, at the beach on occasion. Well, Awaken 180 Weight Loss can't guarantee you're going to look like a perfect beach body, but they can help you lose the unwanted fat that you've been carrying around for way too long. I had been, and I've struggled with it over the years in my adult life. Gaining weight, losing it, gaining it right back. With Awaken 180, the promise is not only will you lose that weight, but once you hit your goal weight, with free support and coaching for life, you're going to be able to maintain that weight loss, and I've been able to do that. I lost my weight back in September, October, November, December, January, February. We're into March now, and that weight has stayed off. It's been a phenomenal revelation. I'm telling you, you can have success as well. Call 844-346-1800. That's 844-346-1800 or online at awaken180weightloss.com. Lose it, keep it off. That's Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Jaguars Today from the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios. Things you never hear Dan and Jeff say.
But I do know now that I shouldn't have yelled at you. I yelled at you a lot.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser are The Drill.
I know it wasn't all your fault.
Mornings on 1010XL.
I mean, it could have been partially my fault.
It's my fault.
Ready for a heating and air company that's just as local as your favorite coffee shop? That's Bolt City Heating and Air. Jacksonville grown, family owned and operated, and not bought out by the out-of-town big guys. And with transparent pricing, you'll know the costs up front, with options to choose from, backed by Bolt City's satisfaction guarantee. And rest assured, Bolt City Techs will treat your home with white glove service. You can be comfortable today. Visit BoltCityAC.com.
When is the best time to buy a Yamaha Wave Runner? Right now. Make a splash this summer on a new Wave Runner from Ride Now Power Sports. No matter how you like to ride, Ride Now Power Sports has the model to fit your style. And for a limited time, receive a 5-year extended warranty on select new Yamaha Wave Runner purchases. Maximum fun, now with maximum protection. Only at Ride Now Power Sports in Jacksonville, 6407 Landing Boulevard, or online at ridenowjacksonville.com.
New and pre-owned firearms are always in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimbar, Smith & Wesson, Sig Sauer, and Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacks Beach.
Make a crucial catch against colon cancer. Hicken here for the Borland Groover Foundation. If you're 45 or older, the ball is in the red zone to get screened. The key to surviving colon cancer, early detection and prevention. 45 is the new 50. Get screened for colon cancer now. The Borland Groover Foundation is a nonprofit organization devoted to building a healthy and equitable community that is free from colon cancer. Visit BorlandGrooverFoundation.com for more.
It's kind of like his own private locker, and you're his guest.
Every time we talk, I'm reinvigorated by my love of the game.
Hayes Carline here. Find my blog at 1010XL.com.
Hayes Blog is brought to you by Roland Reach Plumbing, where quality and experience count.
Imagine waking up this time next week and being 100% debt-free. No credit cards, no car loan, no personal loan. Hey, it's Prosser here, and Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit can make that happen. Homeowners are turning their home equity into cash almost instantly. With Loan Pronto's AI-based system, you can get approval in about 10 minutes with almost no documentation, no appraisal, and no hassle. You can get hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your home. Use that money to pay off all your other loans. The average homeowner saves over $850 a month doing this. Listen, your home value's way up. You can use that to wipe out all those credit cards, get some money for a home improvement. Literally hundreds of thousands are at your fingertips, and approval is just minutes away. So call now, 904-999-1508, 904-999-1508. That's loanpronto.com at 904-999-1508. NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, equal housing lender.
Find the Celt in you. March 9 and 10 at the St. Augustine Celtic Music and Heritage Festival with 10 top Celtic bands, Highland Games, the original St. Patrick Parade and much more. CelticStAugustine.com.
American Electrical is looking for bright minds and hard workers to help light up North Florida. This community continues to grow, and now you can grow your career with a company that will make sure you succeed through commitment. American Electrical even has its own academy dedicated to training select students the electrical trade, and the best news, it's free of charge. Log on to American-Electrical.com to find out more. They're leading the way in electrical contractors on the First Coast. American-Electrical.com.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous, don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Tired of changing out bad sod year after year? Get it done right with Roundtree Sod. Big or small, they have it, and always supplied farm fresh. For a lush, legendary green lawn, call 7414-SOD for a free estimate. 7414-SOD.
Hi, I'm Carly Granick. And I'm Caroline Edwards, a student at Norfolk School of Special Education.
At NFSSC, we foster each student's unique abilities to reveal their highest potential. Just 5 days left until the players.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
You can't touch this.
Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, time to talk to the Hammer himself. It is Hammer time. Hayes Carline of the Frangie Show joining us here on Jaguars Today. Mike Dempsey and Tony Smith. What's up, Hayes? Let me punch him up.
What's up, gentlemen?
How
Great
are
to
you?
be with you. I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Excellent. How many brick walls have you run through this morning?
7.
Excellent.
My goodness. What's he going to do when Calvin gets a deal?
I don't know. Is he going to get a deal? Let's start with the easy now. I don't know about the Chiefs. I think it's not going to be Kansas City, but that's a whole debate for maybe in a few minutes from now. Let's start with Ezra Cleveland. Hayes re-signs with the Jags reportedly, and sometimes these numbers are not all they're cracked up to be, a la the Mike Evans contract, the latest example. But 3 years, $28.5 million, $9.5 per. For Ezra Cleveland in his mid-20s. What do you make of the deal?
I like the deal. It was a hole they had to fill. He'll obviously be the left guard. Not overly surprising because we knew that they wanted him back. But I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't think the money is a problem. So hopefully his peak of his career should be in the next few years. So obviously he's a great athlete at that position. So I like the move.
The Ezra deal getting done, Daniel Thomas being re-signed, the reports are this morning as well. We've talked about some of the things they might be doing when free agency opens, but what other roster moves, if any, do you expect the team to still be willing to make here in the next couple of days before free agency opens?
I would be interested in getting Agnew back, but I'll be curious to see where they are with that. Obviously, they drafted Parker Washington, so they may look at it as we have an in-house option. But Agnew, to me, has been the catalyst for so many big wins that they've had in the last couple of years as a returner. That I'd like to see him. If the money's right, I'd like to see Jamal Agnew back, but. The other free agents, Smoot, Chason, Herndon, McManus, I'm fine with, them moving on to other pastures.
Hayes, it seems like it's crystallized over the last few days that Brandon Sheriff's going to be a part of this football team. $23 million cap hit for Brandon Sheriff is one of the top 5 at the position at either guard spot in the league. You'd save over $9 million if you let him go, but you'd create another hole on your roster. How do you feel it's going to play out with Sheriff?
I think they're going to keep him, which is stunning to me. I don't know why you'd keep a right guard at $24 million that clearly is on the decline of his career. And, really, I'd say hasn't been overly good in the 2 seasons that he's been here. So that would have been an easy decision for me. He's had a great career, but it would have been the end here. And I am really, really surprised that Brandon Sheriff is still in their plan.
With Sheriff potentially coming back, we're all waiting to see what they will or won't do with Cam Robinson. How likely do you think it is, especially with the Ezra deal being done now, that they return with the same starting 5 that they would have had last year next season?
Unfortunately, I think it's high. It's inexplicable to me, but I think it's high. I would have released Cam Robinson as well, but it certainly doesn't seem like they're going to do that. Now, that one was a little bit more of a 60-40 for me. Sheriff was more of like a 90-10 release. And obviously, I think at center, you've got to go sign a free agent, and there's 3 or 4 guys that I think would be clear upgrades over Luke Fortner. So, and you don't cut Luke Fortner. He's got 2 years left on his rookie deal, so he's inexpensive. He just is a backup, but that's what he is so far. At least that's what he's proven he is in the league so far. So, but, they seem to remain confident that he can play better, which is really surprising. So I think the odds are high that they bring the 5 back. And to me, it's just a major miscalculation, but it's not the first time that we've seen that. It's almost like the offensive line is going to be this offseason's version of the supplemental edge rusher last year, where it was like they can't possibly be comfortable with what they have at edge rush behind Allen and Walker, and they were, and they got burned for it. They'll never, I don't live in regret. I don't look in the past. Well, you should, because that's how you get better at any walk of life, any industry that you're in. You self-evaluate and you make improvements. It doesn't appear like they've done that. They're going to stubbornly go with the same offensive line that really let them down a year ago.
Hayes Carline here with us from the Frangie Show, embedded Jaguars reporter for 1010XL. Hayes, we all know, we've talked about it for months and maybe longer than that. If you're going to keep Josh Allen and Calvin Ridley, the only way to assure that would be to get a deal done with one and franchise tag the other one. And obviously we know how it played out this week. I wouldn't agree, but I could understand if the point of view was Allen had one big year, we're going to make him prove it again. But the pace of negotiations from what was reported over the last week seemed to be they were making a real last-minute push to get this across the finish line. And if that's the case, well, then clearly they started too late in this whole process. What do you make of where we've ended up here with the Allen and Ridley situations?
They botched it. Massively. And I honestly, I don't know that you can recover from it from the Josh Allen standpoint of things. If I was Josh Allen's agent, I would advise him to play on the tag and not do a deal with the Jaguars now. They've had plenty of opportunities to do it, and they haven't been able to get it done. He rewrites your record book with 17 and a half sacks, and you still slow play him on an extension. So I'd be like, all right, that's fine. You guys have obviously told us he's not a big priority, which is fine. That's your right. So, he's not going to sign the tag until we get beyond the third preseason game. And when the regular season's about 10 days away or so, then Josh will sign the tag tender, and he'll come in and he'll have hopefully a good year, and then he'll hit the market, because you're not going to tag him again. I mean, the price tag of tagging him again is going to be, ridiculously way more expensive.
It'd be about what you'd probably pay him for 1 year under a new money deal. I mean, it's like 24 this year. It's like 28 something next year. So wouldn't you be paying him that anyway? I mean, wouldn't the 2 year?
No, you wouldn't, because if it was the first year of an extension, it would be a much lower cap hit.
You wouldn't for the cap hit, but in terms of the average annual value of the contract, wouldn't it be in that range anyway?
Well, if they want to tag him again, then that's fine. Then Josh Allen will play, his final 2 years in Jacksonville and pocket $52 million and then move on and still be, 28, 29 years old. But, everybody is insinuating that, a deal is imminent here. And hopefully it is. I mean, I hope Josh Allen is here. But I think it'd be best for Josh Allen to play on the tag and then dare them to either tag him again next year or let him hit the market where he's going to get huge money. I think Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson, they've had ample time to come with a good extension for Josh Allen. And they haven't done it. And now I think, if again, the savvy move, I think, for Josh Allen's camp would be like, all right, that's fine. Then, we don't have a future here. You've made that clear, and we'll play on the tag, and then we'll either move on and test the market, or you'll have to tag us again at a way more exorbitant cost.
What chance do you give the Jags of being the team that gets the deal done with Calvin Ridley?
15%. I mean, I think there is a chance, but if I was Calvin Ridley, I mean, I absolutely would want to know what the teams that are desperate for receiver help are going to offer me. So, I mean, you're so close now to, and they probably already have a fair idea because, I mean, obviously that's how the league works. And I'm sure at the Combine, Ridley's agent was, getting feelers from other clubs. So, I mean, I'm sure they have a fair idea, but I mean, now you're only 72 hours away from knowing exactly what is going to be out there. So I don't know why you'd sign now unless Trent Baalke gives you the sun, the moon, and the stars, which I don't think he's going to do. So if I was Calvin Ridley, I'd, wait 2 or 3 days and let those offers roll in.
I would probably do the same, but couldn't you make the same argument for Mike Evans? Like, won't that 2-year deal with the Bucs be there next Wednesday? Why couldn't Mike Evans test the market and do the same thing? Or maybe he went to the Combine and found out that's as good as the market would bear for him. You know what I mean? I mean,
I think there's a little bit more with the Evans situation. I do think playing for Tampa Bay his whole career is important to him. I think he's looking at it from a Canton standpoint. So I think with Evans, there's a little bit more sentimentality involved in that than there is with Ridley, who's only been here for 1 year. So, I mean, you make a good point, and maybe that'll be the case, and Ridley will get way less than what I anticipate. But the history of free agency leads me to believe that he's going to get a contract that is going to make us all basically say, wow, I did not think the number would be at that level.
Right, and I think, the same thing, though, with Mike Evans. I was surprised, I would think the market would bear more. I don't know what the market's going to bear, Hayes. I mean, it's not like the GMs are telling me what that number is going to be. I heard Matt Hayes say yesterday, maybe this is an indication that there wasn't this breakneck must get the Josh Allen deal done. Trent Baalke has said Calvin Ridley knows where we're at. We know where he's at. Maybe he just thinks whatever he's looking for is more than he's willing to pay, and that includes the $22 million on the franchise tag, because we have heard multiple reports, A, that they were going to be in on Evans, and B, that they're one of the teams interested in trading for L'Jarius Sneed. And you're not making one of those moves if you think you're allocating $20+ million to Calvin Ridley, are you?
You're not. So I'll be very interested in seeing. Like I said, I don't think Ridley's a Jaguar. So it does lead you to wonder, okay, well, what is going to be the move that they make of some impact? I'm starting to question whether there will be one that is really perceived like league-wide as very significant, like where they go and sign one of the top dozen available free agents. I think what is starting to make the most sense, and some of it's based on kind of where they are with the cap, but what might make the most sense is, 3 to 4 players that are more in that, B-level free agent range to, fill some holes as you go into the draft. And their holes are pretty numerous right now. It helps that they got Cleveland done, but they still need help at 5 spots.
Who should the Jaguars' first call be to when the free agency legal tampering window opens up on Monday afternoon?
Yeah, it's a great question. Danielle Hunter would be, I think, just a complete game changer for the Jaguars, particularly if they are planning on moving Trayvon more inside this season under Ryan Nielsen. So to me, to have, that combo of Allen, Walker, and Hunter would just be phenomenal. So I'd love to see that. They need a guard. Again, I'm shocked they're keeping Brandon Sheriff. So I would sign a guard and release Sheriff, but it doesn't look like that's the path they're going to take. I would certainly sign a center, but I don't know that any of those guys are going to create a bunch of headlines and really excite the fan base terribly. So the guy that I think would get the city, really in a buzz would be Danielle Hunter. I don't anticipate that happening, but that'd be my first call to monitor where his numbers are.
Christian Wilkins, please. But look, I've always been a huge Danielle Hunter fan, man, and I would absolutely welcome that. We're beating the drum for him last year, so year late, but come on down. All right, Hayes, what are you guys cooking up for the Frangie show today?
Yeah, we'll continue to talk all things Jags. We'll see if any news breaks in the next 4 hours. But, yeah, tons of Jaguars talk, and certainly appreciate you guys having me on. I always enjoy it.
I always appreciate you coming on. Hayes, thank you, buddy. We'll talk soon.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right, Hayes Carline, you can find at his name on social media, at Hayes Carline, Carlyon. Ezra Cleveland gets a 3-year deal with the Jags. Mixed bag, a lot of, way overpaid him. I can't believe we're bringing back the same O-line. If there was an O-lineman in the interior that I wanted to bring back, he would have been the one. And you look at the Brandon Sheriff thing, Tone, I don't know if this is what they're thinking, but Brandon Sheriff would save about $9 million against the cap if you were to move on, right? So you'd have to turn around and find a right guard, right? Let's presume you did that in free agency so you didn't have to spend a high draft pick on an interior offensive lineman. Well, Ezra Cleveland got $9.5 million. Maybe you could find a guard for less than that, but let's say it costs you like $8 million, right? Basically, your cap hit is going to be maybe close to similar, but then you're going to be locked into that guy for the next several years. I think maybe what they're going to think is, well, if we can get by with that cap hit anyway, and Brandon Sheriff would be a better option, and then we do make a clean break from him, and hopefully Cooper Hodges then on a rookie late-round deal is ready to step in. It could be a way that they're looking at it. I'm not saying it's the right way, but it's trying to suss out what they're doing, putting this offensive line together.
I'm curious to see what the money for the guards that are free agents is going to wind up being, right? Because that's really, as I talked about with the Josh Allen thing, I don't care about the contracts that got signed 3 years ago. As far as what's going to happen with Josh Allen, I am more interested in the contracts that have been signed since the money came in last year, and teams were trying to anticipate what that was going to look like. I know Spot Track, if you buy into their, contract, what they should be, the market value on guys, they had Ezra Cleveland at 13.3, right? As their market value for that guy and whatever the next deal was going to be. I think they had it a 4-year deal when it was on their market value. Well, they signed him for 9.5, so that looks like they're saving 4, but that doesn't really mean anything. The things that are going to tell you whether or not it was a good or bad deal financially are going to be the other contracts that get signed, and then how does Ezra play for the next 3 years? That's what answers those questions. Everyone can feel about it today in the moment, however they want to feel about it, but it's, to me, any of that kind of stuff is cloudy right now. I thought the Cleveland deal needed to get done for the football team. They got it done. That's how I feel about it. They needed to get him back.
Fan cam on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Spot Track had Ezra Cleveland's value pegged at $13.3 million annual.
Yeah.
On a new deal. He said another huge score for Balky. Fan cam riding shotgun on the Balky bus. Yeah, you are. By the way, I can't trust their projections. They're all over the damn place.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they come in way low. Other times they're way high. So
it's an interesting thing to look at when there's guys that you're interested in and say, okay, that's
would that
one.
Could we pay that?
Yeah. Like, I don't think teams are using the Spot Track market value.
If Ezra Cleveland's representatives at the Combine thought he could get more than that and that market was there for him, probably would have waited himself, you know, but the Jags wanted to make sure they locked up their guy. And again, we got to see the final contract details. We're hearing it's a $9.5 million average. We heard it was a 2-year, $52 million contract for Mike Evans, and then it became 2 for $41 with incentives. So are there playing time escalators? Or what is the actual base value of the deal? And what is the salary cap hit for 2024, the big things?
Look, $9.5 million a year does put him 13th, right? If 9.5 is the number, that puts him right now at 13th in the league.
In terms of cap hit?
In terms of average annual value, right, for the current contracts among guards, which that may or may not be a big deal. How many of the guards that are starting in the league right now are on their first contract?
True.
Right?
Right.
Like,
rookie contracts.
They don't cost them anything.
Yeah.
So all those deals are going to be players that are playing on their second and third deals, and you don't even have any of the information on all the guards that are going to be signing this offseason or the extensions that are going to get done by teams this offseason. Like, all that information is going to go into it. So 13th right now, my guess is by the time this all plays out, that number, even at 9.5 and 13 right now, probably winds up closer to 20, 21.
Yeah, something like that.
So which
it's going to get pushed down to some degree. But still, you're talking about 21 out of, it's not just, it's not 20, it's out of 64 guards, not just 32. This is all guards and all, so, okay, play like that. You know, that would be great as well. Got to see the details, but look, if you don't re-sign him, you're going to be signing somebody to that spot, and they're probably going to be, I'm sure there'll be some guards that go for less than that. There're probably going to be some guards that go for more than that. They liked him. They had him in-house. They did give up an asset to go get him, which indicates they really did want to sign Ezra Cleveland and keep him around for a while rather than just trade a pick and get a half season out of him. So your reaction to that and everything else going on in Jaguar land, welcome straight ahead, 641-1010. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today.
Jaguars Today.
From the JOI studios at 1010XL.
Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute.
Where the pros go.
At Honda, we appreciate all the comparisons to other vehicles. And no matter how many times they compare their vehicles to a Honda, only a Honda is a Honda. Remember, value, quality, safety, there is no substitute. Visit your local Honda dealer now and experience the difference.
Get ready for the Players' Championship, March 12th through 17th at TPC Sawgrass. Don't miss your chance to watch the PGA Tour's best compete to etch their name in history while enjoying a vibrant social scene. From local bites to the latest merchandise available in the PGA Tour fan shop, the Players offers the ultimate experience for everyone to enjoy. Secure your spot today. Tickets are on sale now at theplayers.com.
Hey, this is David here with Royal Pest Services. Do you have that room in the house that is just too cold in the winter and just too hot in the summer? To learn about our pest-rated insulation, visit RoyalPestServices.com or call 886-2847.
Lauren Brooks here from Mayport CNC Fisheries. Growing up at the beach, I know good shrimp and oysters when I see them. They're local and they're fresh. That's why Mayport CNC Fisheries is my go-to for both. They have local shrimp in stock 7 days a week. Eat like a local at Mayport CNC Fisheries.
Visionaries, builders, and doers. Are you ready to change the world? Miller Electric is your opportunity to shape the future. Miller Electric is leading the charge in electric vehicle technology with our state-of-the-art EV Innovation Design Center. We're working to create a sustainable future. We're also the proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, powering their performance at the brand new Miller Electric Center. Miller Electric, we provide competitive pay, unbeatable benefits. Apply today. MillerCareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
The 2024 NFL season is approaching fast, and the Jaguars are celebrating their 30th season. Be at the bank for all the big plays and big moments of this milestone year by locking in your season tickets now. With packages for every budget and exclusive perks throughout the season, there's no better time to become a season ticket member. Be at the bank for every touchdown and secure your seats by going to jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000 today. We'll see you at the bank. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys locksmith service.
Bueller Air Conditioning presents Are You Cool?
Today's lucky contestant, a cheese negotiator from Jacksonville, Florida. Meet Margaret Drent.
How do you like my costume, Bob? I'm Gruyere.
Well, you smell great, Margaret. But here's your question. What's wrong with your air conditioner when you hear this sound?
Oh, that's a toughie. Are you sure you don't want me to tell you the suggested retail price of a box of Rice-A-Roni?
5 seconds, Margaret.
Is it a compressor motor starter failure?
That's right, Margaret. And if you call the coolness experts at Bueller Air Conditioning, we can fix that faulty AC to make sure that you are cool.
It's surprisingly stuffy inside a giant cheese.
You signed the waiver, Margaret.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Yo, this is Tony from Tony D's. Are you looking for a great slice of pizza? Well, we have about 12 varieties. Most places won't have slices of pizza after lunch. At Tony D's, you can get a slice all day. It's always fresh at Tony D's Pizza. Bay Meadows and 295.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. When getting pens with your company's logo on them, get nice pens. No one wants to steal a pen that doesn't work. Check them out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Prosser here for Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. With the weather starting to turn for the better, look ahead. Get that backyard ready for spring with a new screened-in enclosure. Maximize the space you have and make it great with Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. They truly are best in the business. If you have the space and the idea, give them a call today. Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Showroom just off Phillips Highway. Tell them Prosser sent you, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. The Gators baseball team fell to UCF last night 9-6. After playing several freshman pitchers, Gators head coach Kevin O'Sullivan says inexperience cannot be an excuse for his freshman pitchers.
We'll talk to the freshmen, but they're not freshmen. I mean, they pitched in the fall, they pitched in the spring, they pitched in front of Georgia, in front of a crowd, they pitched at home, they pitched away. You know, they're gonna have to grow up in a hurry.
UF men's basketball announced that Walter Clayton Jr. was named to the SEC Community Service Team after participating in a variety of programs at multiple local elementary schools throughout the year, as well as spending time at Food for Kids events. The Jacksonville Icemen, number 2 in the ECHL South, traveled to Orlando to face off against the Orlando Solar Bears tonight. Puck drop at 7. It's 71 degrees at 11 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air Conditioning. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
They botched it. I mean, massively. And I honestly, I don't know that you can recover from it from the Josh Allen standpoint of things. If I was Josh Allen's agent, I would advise him to play on the tag and not do a deal with the Jaguars now. They've had plenty of opportunities to do it, and they haven't been able to get it done. He rewrites your record book with 17.5 sacks, and you still slow play him on an extension.
Oh, that's great. But if Josh Allen gets what he wants eventually in contract extension talks with the Jags, why wouldn't you take it? I don't understand the mindset of, like, I didn't get what I want by this date. I'm going to get it before the season kicks off, but forget it. I'm going to play for this on a 1-year deal and take all the injury risk on. And if I blow up my ACL, well, the hell with it.
I fear that any of the reports about the last push they made to sign Josh Allen this week, that's all histrionics, right? Like, that's all for show for the public,
Maybe.
and it really wasn't that close at all, which I have the same kind of fears that were expressed by Hayes there about this whole situation and how it's going to play out ultimately with Josh Allen. You asked us about it yesterday, right? Like, do you expect him to play on the franchise tag this year? I do. I think that's going to be ultimately where this whole thing lands, because I don't get the sense, based on anything we've heard going back to last year and this year, that makes me all that confident that the team is willing to make an offer that would get him to say yes. I'm just not confident that they're willing to do that. And I think all the reasons that have been mentioned will be the reasoning for the team not to make that offer. And if they feel that way, they feel that way. Nothing can be done about that. And anyone who feels differently, like I do, there's nothing we can do to change their minds. Right? Josh showed you the information that if you're going to change your mind, you would have changed it already. Right? So I think it's going to play out with the show it again. I think that's what the team's going to say to him. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're having to use the tag on him again next year, and that they never get the long-term deal done with him. I want them to. I really want them to.
But they've gone down the same road with Cam Robinson.
Sure.
Got a deal done. Went down this road to Evan Ingram. What would be the difference? They saw what Evan Ingram could do. Couldn't get a deal done.
The Cam and Evan situations. The Cam, it surprised me when they used it the second time. The first time we were all on the same page. You got to tag him. Right? Like, that's what it felt like the first time they used the tag on Cam. The second time, I was caught off guard by them doing it. Then they got the deal done with them. The Evan thing, I thought it would be easier to work out because it wasn't going to be monster money when they had to figure out whatever it was going to be with Evan Ingram. It wasn't going to be a monster deal. The Josh Allen deal, to get it worked out, it's going to have to be a monster. And I just haven't heard anything from the Jaguars side of this that indicates to me they're willing to make that deal with that guy in their minds without him doing it in back-to-back years. That's what it feels like to me from the team side of this. I disagree with that stance on the whole thing, but I think that's ultimately where it's going to land, and that's going to wind up with him having to play on the franchise tag. I hope they get the long-term deal worked out. I'm just not hopeful that they do.
Yeah, Evan Ingram's not monster money in the sense that he's not going to get one of the biggest contracts in the league, but he got a pretty decent, tight end contract. He's still got
he got good money for a tight end.
Right.
But good money for a tight end and good money for an edge rusher are
sure they are.
Different
but
worlds.
The impact of an edge rusher, for all those catches last year, I felt Josh Allen had a much bigger impact on this team than Evan Ingram did.
Absolutely.
Much bigger. And that's not to knock Evan Ingram.
No. He's a good player.
Had a really good year.
Yeah.
Taking reactions to the Jags signing of Ezra Cleveland to a 3-year deal. My favorite so far, see if I can get this up. Here it is. I'm not a fan of the signing. I think we need to focus on the O-line. Okay? Didn't realize Ezra Cleveland had a position switch, or maybe you just think he's that inconsequential that he has no impact on the O-line, of which he is signed now as one of your 5 starters on the O-line. So, going to probably not take that one as seriously as some of the other ones. And there's been mixed reaction. We overpaid, just an average guy, less than average guy.
Sure.
Whatever the case may be. That's what we're asking for. But
I'm not a good evaluator of guard talent anyway.
Me either, right? But I think we should have spent the money on O-line is probably not the response that's going to get you the most street cred. Let's put it that way. All right, Tony will take you around the league coming up. We got a mock to look at because there's always a mock to look at, as well as the Jaguars sign Ezra Cleveland and bring back Daniel Thomas as well on a small 2-year deal, or special teams ace for the football team. So today, not to be forgotten, the question today is asking you, is there a player right now, based on what you know at the moment, that you'd be willing to trade up for in the first round of the NFL draft, assuming normal trade-up prices? I saw somebody go, oh, man, I'd even give up the second rounder to go up there and get Marvin Harrison Jr. You know how quick they'll laugh you out of the room? You think you're going from 17 to 4 to,
did you mean 2 first-round picks?
2 first-rounders. At a minimum, If you're going from 17 to 4, you're giving up next year's first-round pick.
I would think so.
At a minimum,
Yeah.
you're giving up next year's first-round pick, I would think. So for a second, they'd probably do it and, snap their own neck. They'd turn their head so quickly at that opportunity. Nobody gets to move up that high for that cost. If you think you're paying a lot to maybe consider giving up that, you're not going to be in the ballpark in terms of getting up to where it would probably cost the investment to get Marvin Harrison Jr. But we are asking you if you are willing to make a move, and if so, who is that player you're most likely to make that move for? 641-1010 if you want to get in on the All-Pro Roofing phone line or on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today.
From the JOI studios at 1010XL. He's not afraid to tell the truth.
You ever hear of Superman? He died fighting next to me. My point exactly.
The truth teller, Rick Ballou.
What are your superpowers again?
Weeknights on 1010XL.
I help him because no one else does.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. Clayton, how does a diamond or a piece of jewelry have its price authenticated by an independent appraisal?
David, simply put, there's a difference between a selling price and an appraisal value. In the estate and auction business, you almost always see a new replacement price put on an old used piece. But when you have a new piece with a higher replacement price, you have to wonder why somebody would sell you something for a lot less than it's worth, unless maybe it's not worth what they said. Let me tell you a story about what happened at Underwoods the other day. We were putting into stock a 1-carat diamond that had an EGL report on it. When we opened the report, we found a separate appraisal for the diamond by Universal Gemological Services. They appraised the diamond for $7,230, which we found interesting because the diamond was in our stock at $5,100. I can honestly say that the diamond would never sell anywhere for $7,230. So that type of appraisal is worthless.
That's Underwoods, where they make it a point to know the truth about diamonds in San Marco, Avondale, the shops of Ponte Vedra, Underwood Jewelers.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy, classic wings. Made to order, cooked to perfection. And sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. And, of course, spicy Cajun fried corn. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
Attention golf enthusiasts, get ready to swing into action at the Rolling Red Pro Golf Tour at Deer Creek Country Club April 10th to the 12th. It's a charity pro-am event benefiting the Wounded Warrior Project. Rub shoulders with real touring pros, explore the outdoor expo, and indulge in a banquet meal. Want to play alongside a future PGA Tour player? Sign up now at rollingredgolftour.com. Spectators welcome and sponsor packages available. That's rollingredgolftour.com.
Have you been dreaming of enhancing your living space with top quality custom windows and doors? Make that dream a reality with Renewal by Andersen. And right now, buy one window or patio door and get one 40% off. Plus, no money down, no payments, and no interest for 12 months. This offer expires March 31st and restrictions apply. Renewal by Andersen, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit rbafla.com.
License number CGC 1527613.
Add an ace to your Tuesday morning.
The third ace in 4 days.
Brunch with a tour.
Tour news, tips, and inside info.
Brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Art of Natural Stone.
8:30 Tuesday morning on 1010XL.
Now that's what I call high quality H2O. If you want high quality H2O in your home, call your local water boy Keith at Kenai Water Jacksonville. That's KENAI Water Jacksonville.
Mortgage rates have lowered going into this spring selling season. Have you had problems selling your home in the past? Are you looking for a promise, a solution? I'm here to give it for you. It's Chad and Sandy and chadandsandy.com, the real estate experts I trust and recommend with the sale of your home, or mine for that matter. Maybe you want maximum equity, or perhaps you're worried about costly repairs or upgrades. Chad and Sandy deliver this simple promise. They guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. You have literally nothing to lose. Take Pete in Lakeshore. I was in a pickle. I heard Chad and Sandy on the radio and called because I needed to cash out on a rental property fast. I was struggling to rent it. I called Chad and Sandy, and I got an offer for full asking price within days. These guys made it easy and delivered big-time results. Call the agents I trust and recommend to sell your home. Chad and Sandy, they guarantee to sell your home or they will buy it. Find out more at chadandsandy.com or call 414-6200.
It's the 60th Bob Hayes Invitational Track Meet, March 14 through 16. Track events will be held at Hodges Stadium on the campus of UNF. Thursday, March 14, the annual Hall of Fame Gala at the Potter's House International. Friday, March 15, the first collegiate meet at 10 a.m. and the Coach Day Middle School Track Meet, 5 p.m. On Saturday, March 16, the annual Bob Hayes Invitational Track and Field Meet at 8:30 a.m. at Hodges Stadium. For information and tickets, visit bhitm22.org. Presented by the City of Jacksonville and Pepsi.
Local 234 Plumbers, Pipe Fitters, and HVAC Technicians is now taking applications for their state-certified apprenticeship program. As an apprentice, you'll receive excellent benefits, higher pay, job placement, and even earn college credit. The 5-year programs include plumbing, pipe fitting, welding, and HVAC. A career as a journeyman means stability and security. For more information, visit ua234.com/apprenticeship. Local 234. Make the right connection.
Find the Celt in you. March 9 and 10 at the St. Augustine Celtic Music and Heritage Festival with 10 top Celtic bands, Highland Games, the original St. Patrick Parade, and much more. CelticStAugustine.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Jaguars Today
on 1010XL.
All right, Ezra Cleveland is back. For better or worse, whatever you feel about that, the Jags have seemingly answered their left guard position at the least, and it's not an unexpected move. We'll see what the eventual numbers come in. Somebody says it's fine, less than $5 million per year committed, provides solid O-line depth. I don't know which contract you're looking at. It's 14.5 guaranteed. Yeah. That's the guaranteed money. The total value is 28.5, so it's $9.5 million per year. And again, as somebody pointed out, let's see the structure.
Yeah, we'll see.
Right, it could be backloaded. That third year, it might be a 2-year deal, right? That basically or one of those deals that we look at and it's like a 2-year deal, and then when they cut him in year 3, we're like, there goes Darius Williams again. I don't know. But look, they're at where they're at, and at least now they have one less hole going in. And like you said, we'll find out a week from now. What is the market like? I would hope that they had a gauge on what the market would be like. Not only the guard market, Tony, but look, they like Ezra Cleveland, obviously, right? They saw something in him. They brought him here. I saw Meta World Crazy tweet out, they like guys who are mobile as opposed to guys who can actually block. Again, I'll rely more on Baselli's evaluation and Leon Searcy's evaluation of Ezra Cleveland, who they said at times was playing as well as any offensive lineman on his team. Now, that may be a low bar as well, but he also was hurt a lot of the time playing here. So what can you do? I mean, this move, I think, was coming. Quite frankly, the fact that they got it in under $10 million from a Jaguar standpoint might actually be okay. And again, the cap hit year 1 might be like $6-7 million and could still leave them with 13-ish million in cap space if that's the case, to go out there and maybe, I don't know about make a splash, but at least plug a hole or two along the way. And it is interesting, as we talked about with Hayes, they've been connected at least to some big game hunting. Now, maybe there's only a couple particular guys that they'd be interested in making that major splash for. And who knows if anything goes down with L'Jarius Sneed. Obviously, they were rumored to be interested in Mike Evans. And that's a lot of this, too. Do we really know? Would they have made a big play for Mike Evans? Hard to know. What's the sourcing behind some of these reports? But at least they've been connected with some bigger name guys. I'd like to hear Jags are really seriously looking at Christian Wilkins.
That would be sweet.
It'd be great. We do hear the connection over the last year about Danielle Hunter, and sometimes I think we try to extrapolate too much out of that. You know what I mean? Like, that to me, as much as I wouldn't mind it,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense from the standpoint of Danielle Hunter for a number of reasons. Danielle Hunter is going to get a big deal. He might not get the Josh Allen deal, but he's going to get a big money deal. Is he an every down player for you if he comes here?
I think I said it last week with the Danielle Hunter thing. Everything that I've read about the Jags being attached to Danielle Hunter this offseason is basically someone writing, well, they have been interested.
In the past.
Right. It's like, well, what does that have to do with
Minnesota
now?
at some point in 2023.
Yeah. Like, I don't think that means the Jags are in on Danielle Hunter now.
Especially after Trayvon Walker had somewhat of a breakout year and hit double digits in sacks in his second year. I mean, you're not.
And it's not that I'm against
away
Hunter.
From Trayvon at this point.
Like I would love it if they could sign a Danielle Hunter here. That'd be awesome.
Oh, sure, right. I'm saying I just don't think that's the best use of resources, and I don't think they'll think that's the best use of resource. It would be give you a luxury of riches at that spot.
Yes,
at the expense maybe of competency at some others. And granted, I know people are saying, "Oh, they're going to move Trayvon inside. They're going to play somewhat to some degree." He's not going to play as a full-time defensive tackle.
No.
And you're not taking Trayvon off the field, not on early downs.
The GM who drafted him is not going to be looking at it saying, I'm looking to move him to tackle now.
Correct.
Like, I doubt he's making moves with the idea of, well, this guy can play tackle. I think if he brought somebody in and the coaching staff said, this is where we need him to play right now so that we can get everybody on the field. Right?
Right.
Like,
well,
that's a coaching decision, and you're having that discussion as you're making the decisions about spending this big money. I don't think the team is going to sign somebody that says, well, now Trayvon Walker is a defensive tackle. I think
that would have to be the play. If you're signing Danielle Hunter, I think that would have to be your idea, that he's almost a full-time defensive tackle.
Yeah, certainly.
Otherwise, it's a waste of resources for the money it's going to take to bring in Danielle Hunter. I don't want him coming off the bench as a third down pass rush specialist. Go get Josh Uche or somebody who should be half the cost or less, and can have that Arden Key type impact for this football team. All right. Speaking of these guys on other teams around the league, hopefully we'll have the Jags showing some interest in some new talent coming onto this roster midweek next week. But for now, let's take a look around the rest of the NFL.
Now, Gems Around the NFL. Brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacks Beach.
Houston is re-signing kicker Kymie Fairbairn to a 3-year, $15.9 million contract extension. Washington is signing tight end Zach Ertz to a 1-year deal worth up to $5 million. Kansas City has signed tight end Garrett Prince. The Philadelphia Eagles are releasing cornerback Avonte Maddox. The Buffalo Bills had a busy Wednesday. They have restructured their deal with Von Miller to save them around $9 million on the salary cap. The Bills and quarterback Mitch Trubisky have agreed to a 2-year, $5.25 million deal. The deal could max out with $8.46 million with incentives. The Bills also signed offensive lineman David Edwards to a 2-year extension. They have released running back Nyheim Hines, cornerback Tre'Davious White, center Mitch Morse, safety Jordan Poyer, and wide receiver Deontay Harry. The Denver Broncos have given quarterback Russell Wilson permission to begin speaking with teams immediately, which will give him the opportunity to talk to teams about where he might play next year before he is actually released next week at the beginning of the league year. And Denver is releasing safety Justin Simmons.
Yeah, they must not like Justin Simmons. How's that going to play in the locker room with any potential? Never mind. It is kind of funny to me. Like, are the Jags the only team that are sending a bad message by franchise tagging one of their draft picks? I mean, Cincinnati, what kind of message are they sending? That if you get drafted by Cincinnati and play well, you're not going to get the extension, said T. Higgins. I mean, I get it. You can say, well, they got to pay this guy, they got to pay that guy, they got to pay the other guy. They also have a ton of cap space, right? And they're doing that. Kansas City has won the last 2 Super Bowls. Are they going to pay L'Jarius Sneed? They tagged him with the hopes of squatting on him to trade him, right? So, and I get it. It's not every situation is exactly the same.
No.
The Jags don't have a lengthy list of stars, and they certainly missed on a number of first-round picks, and we're all in favor of Josh Allen getting his money here. It is just funny to me that I don't hear that narrative brought up about other teams all that much. Maybe it's because we're just focusing on this one, but, what kind of message does that send? Well, T. Higgins didn't get the bag. What kind of does that mean that somebody in Cincinnati on their roster is not going to play as hard this year? I don't. You know what I mean? Like I mean, it's going to cause discontent. It could, I suppose, to some small degree.
I guess. I mean, we have players that have been playing here in Jacksonville for the last several years with players being hit with the franchise tag. Did that seem to affect any of the other guys on the roster?
I think people care about themselves mostly.
Like, I think Josh Allen is a little bit different.
Sure.
Because of the level player he seems to be at a premium position in the National Football League. I think that one raises eyebrows more than most, right? Like, again, last offseason they used the tag on Evan Ingram. I wasn't like, how dare they? Like, that's not how I felt about them using the tag on Evan Ingram. And I thought the most likely outcome the whole time was they're going to get a long-term deal done with Evan Ingram. I thought that was going to be what wound up happening because it was easier to figure out what that would be than it's going to be with Josh, because I have no idea how close or far apart those two sides are at this point, and there's the potential for it to be a big gap between where they're both at with what they would like to see and whatever this contract is.
The reporting last year, they thought they were close with Evan Ingram, and then Evan Ingram, when he saw where the cap was, wanted more, and that created a bigger gap, right?
Absolutely.
And like, that's part of the deal too. What is Josh asking for? We just don't know. Yeah. And I do think the conditions to get a deal done will be better because Danielle Hunter will have signed by then. You'll know what the new market looks like for defensive end out there, and Josh Allen will know as well. Like it's. I don't think it's their desire to do this, but they can squat on his rights for another year. Yeah. And where Hayes is saying, "Oh, that's going to be too cost prohibitive." I don't think it will. Like, in terms of that year's cap hit, you can't adjust that. But in terms of the actual average annual value of the deal, if he's going to get 24 this year and say 28 next year on a tag, that's 26 a year. Who wouldn't sign him for $26 million a year? Now, the difference is you'd only have him for 2 instead of 4 or 5, and that's obviously a major difference. And again, for the 8 billionth and 3 times, I need to say it, we are in favor of the long-term deal getting done. We're just, if it doesn't, still going to show up and play this year, right? Still going to show up and play next year. So what is the path that this team might take if they're unable to get that done? I still think there's a very good chance of a long-term deal getting done, but obviously it's not going to happen for a while at this point in time.
And maybe TJ Watt or Myles Garrett does everyone a favor and they get their deals reworked this offseason.
Maybe they do.
And let everyone know what that looks like. Not that I'm expecting that to be the outcome for either of those guys.
Maybe Micah Parsons gets a deal.
Maybe.
Maybe he does. We just don't know.
But guys that will be getting deals to let you know where that money's going to be compared to the Bosa deal, because I do think it's a bit of it's a gray area for a bunch of teams that are trying to figure out exactly what that's going to look like right now. I don't think the Jaguars and Trent Baalke are very bold when it comes to those kinds of things. I think they're unwilling to be the team that's going to go out on the limb and say, this is what we think it should be. Like, I just don't get the sense that Baalke's willing to do that. I think Shad Khan would do it if Baalke walked in the office and said, this is what we need to make it happen. He'd say, what do you need? Right? Like, that's my impression of Shad Khan.
I don't even think he has to ask.
Right. This is what you tell me what I need to sign on the check, I'll sign it. Right? I think that's how Shad is with these kinds of decisions. The GM and the organization beyond that is saying, this is what we think it should be. I don't think they're willing to be the team that is bold enough to make him paid right next to Bosa right now.
Maybe not with Josh Allen, but in terms of adding talent, he wasn't afraid to pay more than what people thought for Christian Kirk.
Sure.
Right? I've already seen people complaining about this Ezra Cleveland deal. Let's see what the market bears. I do think this is one where it's reasonable to go, give me a week, and I'll have a better assessment of how good this deal is with Ezra Cleveland or not. And beyond that, give me the actual details of the deal. Let me see the breakdown of what he's going to get each year, what the salary cap ramification is going to be. If you cut him after 2 years, how much dead cap money is there? All that different kind of stuff that's going on. And let's not forget Daniel Thomas back in the fold as well. I saw a 2-year, $4 million deal, so pretty cheap money, but a big-time special teams contributor for this football team as well. All right, we'll come back and take a look at the Chad and Sandy Real Estate question of the day. Is there a player that you would consider trading up for in the first round of the NFL draft, assuming the typical price you always have to pay. You know, nobody's saying you can get any player you want for the cost of adding in a 7th-round pick, right? So if you're being reasonable, who are you willing to make a move for? Or, on the other hand, you just say, no, too many holes. We can't afford to be losing draft picks. We got to gain them, if anything. We got to maybe move in the other direction. So let us know on our Twitter poll, @MD_1010XL. It's a close one today, and we'll tell you if there was a player that would be willing to move for, who that player would likely be. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark here with you. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Food. Sandwiches, subs, yummy, yummy, yummy. Everything good from Dandy because it's always fresh. Highest quality ingredients, locally sourced as often as possible. Great variety, great prices. What do you want other than local people making that food for you? Dandy is a local company. The Thompson family, a local family, created the Dandy Corporation over 65 years ago. That 70-year anniversary is coming right up, by the way, and they're thriving because they never settle for just good enough. Always looking for something more, always adding to the menu. How about some of these delicious options out there for you right now, like the Italian combo that'll melt in your mouth, a hot roast beef and provolone, the big old classic juicy 100% beef cheeseburger, all those served on fresh ciabatta bread, baked locally, served and delivered daily around the First Coast. So swing into a gate station, fill up the tank, then fill up your belly with some goodies from Dandy. They're the name to know when you're hungry in Duval. Do what I do. Go out and make yours a Dandy, and do it today.
Jaguars Today.
From the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios.
JOI, where the pros go.
Jeff Prosser here. Need that garage floor redone? Pool deck? Patio? Well, I did my homework and found out there is only one company offering a lifetime warranty, Jack's Concrete Coating. How do they do it? They're the certified Pintech dealer for North Florida, so they are the only company offering pure polyurea. Trust me, I can speak firsthand to their work, and it is awesome. Go to jacksconcretecoatings.com or call 904-862-2000.
It's Kubota Orange Days, your golden chance to score a deal that will make your neighbors green with envy. Shop the year's best selection of Kubota tractors, zero-turn mowers, and utility vehicles, including the #1 selling compact tractor in the USA. And get the year's best deals, like 0% APR for 84 months or up to $3,300 off L3302 tractors. Coastal Equipment on New Kings Road and in McClenny.
Coastal Equipment.
Electricians, innovators, and tech enthusiasts, listen up. Miller Electric is shaping the future, and we want you to be a part of it. From healthcare and data centers, corporate offices, aviation, and industrial facilities, Miller Electric is powering the most exciting projects in Jacksonville and beyond. We offer not just a job, but a thrilling career with great pay and incredible benefits. Visit us at millercareers.com to apply. Miller Electric, where your skills meet our vision, an equal opportunity employer.
He's a professor of quarterback play, and class is in session.
We want to take you into the lab so you can learn more about the science of quarterback.
Denny Thompson, Friday mornings on The Drill. Brought to you by Tyson Sound and Security and George Moore Chevrolet on 1010XL.
Something bad has happened to Mom.
Streaming March 14th on Peacock.
Joy Delaney, mother of 4, has gone missing.
From the author of Big Little Lies and 9 Perfect Strangers.
She will come back.
You think we're this, big, happy family?
I have a confession.
Starring Oscar nominee Annette Bening, Sam Neill, Jake Lacey, and Allison Brie.
Secrets will poison any family, and what you don't know can hurt you.
Apples Never Fall. Streaming March 14th, only on Peacock.
Wintertime at the Blue Crab Crab House. You know what that means. Time for oysters. Buy them by the tray, broiled, half shell with Romano cheese, wine topping, or fried. And of course, each and every Wednesday, $1 oysters at the Blue Crab Crab House. Serving Northeast Florida since 1996. Make reservations by calling 260-CRAB. Jacksonville's best, the Blue Crab Crab House, off of San Jose on Jewington Creek Road.
Your cooling system isn't working. Maybe somebody showed up with a portable electronic device. Then they discussed with you what your options are. Maybe they gave you an estimate that seems like an awful lot of money. What's the smart thing to do? When the situation merits a second opinion, get a Mike Merritt opinion. Yes, the Mike Merritt Comfort Team shows up with hand tools. We've never been able to fix an air conditioning problem with a tablet. Mike Merritt has been the trusted name for more than 30 years because there's never any hocus pocus. The Merritt team will walk you through the diagnostic steps up close and personal and show you exactly what you need. And the Mike Merritt price is likely to be far less because there's never an overtime charge, and the Merritt team doesn't work on commission. So remember, when it comes to the health of your cooling system, a second opinion can only help, and a Mike Merritt opinion can save you money. Florida license CACO 50384.
Chicken here. You know at Zero Res, they love rugs. Fine oil rugs need to be cleaned with the right equipment and careful training. My guy at Zero Res, Gerard, is a certified master rug cleaner and has been cleaning rugs for more than 5 years. Don't trust your fine rugs to anyone. Call Zero Res right now. They are offering a BOGO on rug cleaning. Have Zero Res clean one rug, get a second rug for free. What a great time to get your rugs cleaned. Zero Res, man. Spell it forward, spell it backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Lowe, and I want to talk to you about not looking at the rearview mirror of unforgiveness. It's so easy to keep looking in the past when someone has hurt or offended us. What we don't realize is that if we keep looking at the rearview mirror of anger, it will cause us to miss out on the good things that God has in store right in front of us. Friends, looking in the rearview mirror of the past will never give you peace in the present.
For more inspiration, log on to stjohnthedivine.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, by request from Tony Smith right here. Pocket spinning the hits for you.
What is this?
Usual. I don't know. Why'd you ask for it? If you don't know what it is, why'd you ask for it?
I told him to surprise me.
He did. All right, down the stretch we come here. Got the Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day. We'll look at one mock that crossed my eyeballs this morning, Tony. Was interesting over at Pro Football Network because they had 5 quarterbacks in the top 10. That's what I want, baby. I mean, I do think we're getting 4 at a minimum in the first 16 picks. If we can get Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. to jump into that top 16, that would be phenomenal. A third of the picks going ahead of you are guys you would not even look at in this year's draft.
Yeah.
They had it going Caleb Williams 1, Drake May 2, Jaden Daniels 3. Just for we've seen every permutation of that just about. Marvin Harrison going 4th, and then the Vikings trade up for J.J. McCarthy to 5. Okay, a lot of people think there's going to be a big market for him. Roma Dunze goes 6. Joe Alt goes to Tennessee. Malik Neighbors goes 8. Dallas Turner, who, man, what a combine. Woo! If Edge was like our top priority, I was just telling Pockets on the break, that'd be a guy I'd trade up for, but it's not the top priority. Then Vegas trading up in this scenario to get Bo Nix, jump ahead of Denver. And in this deal, moving from 13 to 10, they give up the 44th pick, get back 112. So I guess they're giving up their second, getting back a 4th to move 3 spots. So those people thinking, I give up a second to go up into the top 5 and get Marvin Harrison, you're not probably being realistic about it. Anyway, the way it falls for the Jaguars, they take J.C. Latham out of Alabama in this mock and says even with Cam Robinson, if he remains on the roster, you can play him inside for a year. Well, where? All right. Ain't playing left guard now. And I wonder if this does now, Tony, like, those combo linemen, a guy you could see playing guard for a year and then eventually moving out to tackle. Are they off the board for the Jags at 17? Or maybe they never were in that strong. We don't know what their board looks like, and it's not finalized now anyway. But just in terms of the flow of what we're thinking, if Brandon Sheriff is back here this year as a presumptive starter, even if you think he's on his last year here, you're not drafting a guy in the first round who's going to sit on the bench knowingly, right? Unless you're developing a quarterback for a year.
Wouldn't think.
This team needs too much right now. So let's get to today's question of the day, asking you as things stand, is there a player you'd be okay with the Jags trading up for in the NFL draft, assuming normal trade prices? If so, whom would you be okay with them trading up for? Pockets, why don't we do that as today's 10-10 take?
10-10 Take.
Now, Mike Dempsey's 10-10 Take. Brought to you by Leonard Truck Accessories.
All right, the risk of you stealing my guy, if you even have a guy, why don't you go first and tell me, is there a player that would cause you to move? If so, how big of a move are we talking about?
Yeah.
What kind of compensation are we talking about?
I was trying to play through it in my head, right? Like it's not going to be one of the corners because I do think there's just too many of them, and I don't feel better about any of them enough for it to be a player that I think I'd be willing to make the move for. It's not going to be any of the defensive linemen. I don't think that I'd feel that way. Offensive linemen, no, I don't think I'd feel that way about. So there's one player right now in my head that maybe I'd be willing to make a small move for, and it would have to be getting down to within 3-4 picks of you if Rome Odunze is still there. That would be the one I think I'd be willing to make the move for, because I do think in my head there's a gap between those top 3 wide receivers and whoever the fourth one is.
Sure.
Right? And I think it's a significant enough gap that if the guy that I think is the third on that list, which is Odunze, if he was still there for whatever group of reasons allowed him to be there around 13, 14 in the draft, I'd be willing to move up to go make that move. But I think they have enough.
What would you give up? Like, would you give up your second-round pick straight up to make that move? Maybe get back a fifth.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it would cost.
I think for Odunze, I agree, and I would say I do it for Malik Neighbors. I don't think the top 2 guys, and I do think there's a pecking. I think those top 2 have a little bit of separation from Odunze.
Agreed.
In my, at least based on what the tea leaves say. Maybe the tea leaves are wrong, right? Yeah. But if they're right and what the prognosticators are saying, it could come down to Malik Neighbors maybe even challenging Marvin Harrison Jr. to be the first receiver off the board.
Yeah.
Odunze is the one guy because of all the QBs, if teams are trading into the top 10 for quarterback, that may possibly fall out. And if you think he is a difference-making, walk into your locker room, number 1 type wide receiver projecting for the next 8 years or whatever, like
sure,
you could see him being Trevor Lawrence's guy, the guy for the long term. I'm with you on that one. First of all, things are deep, but look, I'm no cornerback expert. I'm no expert on the draft. We're enthusiasts, right? But Terry and Arnold and Quinion Mitchell, I would prefer over the other corners. So I could see them, like if one of them's off the board, loving a guy. Like I don't like Nate Wiggins, right? Because he's so tiny. Mitchell's rocked up. He's a bigger guy.
Man, do I want to see Cooper DeJean work out.
There's another one, right? And he
I
may
think
be sitting there.
Athletically, he's going to be there with those
and
guys.
He's got the size, too. And so I could see them liking a corner. For me, I'm with you. There'll be probably enough that I'm going to wait. I'm not going to do it for a lineman for a similar reason. I might consider a small jump for Byron Murphy, right? If you think that Byron Murphy, especially with Johnny Newton coming off of injury, they're the 2 kind of pass rush penetrating defensive tackles that are seen as mid-first round values. And if you're worried that he might not make it to you, I could see giving up a late pick to jump up a couple of spots. But I'm not going to go crazy that. Honestly, I really don't want to give up my second-round pick, that compensatory third that we're expecting to get for losing Jawan Taylor last year because, I mean, we know the Jags are losing at minimum their own third-round pick in the deal. I'd have to be 100% sold on Odunze, and not only that he is that guy, but that Adonai Mitchell or any of these other, I'm just to name one, or Brian Thomas Jr. or whomever couldn't be that alpha for you as well.
Yeah.
Where you might not only be able to get them at 17, you might be able to still even move back once or twice and get a guy like Mitchell. So I'm more inclined not to go up. And granted, I think for a lot of people, even the ones who said I'd be willing to go up for a certain guy, if you asked, what would you prefer? Most people would say, let's move back and accumulate more picks because it does seem that there's this knot of players that would be a good fit for the Jags in the first round of the draft, even if they move back into the mid-20s, right? That they would get a walk-in starter, some more draft capital, make up somewhat for the third rounder. It looks like they're going to lose unless they shock us and sign Calvin Ridley before the start of free agency. So let's take a look at the poll results as of right now. This is a good one. 52.2% said yes, for the right guy, I would make the move. 47.8% saying no. So 52-48, saying we have too many holes to fill. A lot of the responses, I'd move for Marvin Harrison Jr. And somebody said, I'd do that, but it'd be incredibly expensive. I said, what would you pay to move up? Didn't get a response. What are you paying to move into the top 5? I asked Dom. I'd give our 17th, the compensatory third, our 4th, and next year's 2nd. I don't know if that gets you to 4. Mm-mm. I really don't from 17. Without a first-round pick in there, I don't know, especially because the Cardinals, the team in this scenario you're likely trading with, is one of two things. Either you got to get ahead of the Cardinals, and you got to get one of those quarterback-needy teams, be willing to move out of the quarterback range for the top 3, or you got to go to a team that covets that player potentially a ton and get them to give him up, knowing you're coming up for the same guy that they covet, and what would it take for them to move off of that guy at that point in time? So I just don't think it's realistic that unless we find out, unless he comes out with the gas mask bong in the next, month and a half. I don't think we're going to see Marvin Harrison Jr. sliding down the draft board very far.
No, I tend to agree. And when you look at, this is the fun time of year to look at the draft trade value charts, right? When we're talking about these kinds of things, however much you buy into them or don't, it at least gives you an idea of the ranges of what it's going to cost to do these things, right? And if you I'm looking at one right now that 4th pick has a value of 1,800 points, right? The Jaguars pick at 17 has a value of 950.
Okay.
Right? So you're having to figure out a way to make up 800 points, basically, in there. The Jaguars' 2nd-round pick is worth 420.
Right, so there's half of what you need.
And then you're looking at, 5th, 6th-round picks for the Jags. Like the 5th-round pick for the Jags is worth 30.
It doesn't move the needle.
It doesn't move the needle. Like you'd have to be looking at, would you give up your 2nd-round pick again next year? Right? Like those kind of things would have to be in it.
To get in Marvin Harrison land.
To get in Marvin Harrison land.
I agree with that.
That would cost a lot.
And look, I understand, some people would be willing to pay what it would take to get up there, and they feel like superstar second he walks through the door. Several people mentioned Brock Bowers. If he falls out of the top 10, Robert said shouldn't cost more than a swap of ones and a mid-round pick. That's the cost. Like, I wouldn't make that move for Brock Bowers because I feel like he replicates a strength that you've got with Evan Ingram. But if he were that guy, that he would seem like he could fall certainly into the range where, like, if you felt like you had to get ahead of Seattle or whatever, you could move one or two spots and maybe get him. A lot of Odunze, Brian Thomas Jr., interesting. I think I at that point I would sit there and wait and see if he fell to me. Might not, but that's me. Somebody even mentioned in a list of the guys they'd be willing to go for, Keon Coleman. I think for sure Keon Coleman's going to be sitting there at 17 for you. If you really felt that way about Coleman, I think you'd be able to grab him. And right now, I mean, there are, especially now, Tone, with Ezra Cleveland back in the fold. It was an anticipated move, but it hadn't happened yet. The idea of drafting one of those versatile linemen that could slide inside and play guard for a year is probably off the table if Brandon Sheriff is back in any capacity this year, because it looks like they're getting ready to roll with a lot of the same starters on offense and feed us the point of view. I'm not going to say the line, but the point of view, the continuity is what cost them last year. That's what they're hanging their hat on for right now.
Yeah.
Injuries and the fact that they couldn't have them all together. Let's say hello to XL Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill, brought to you by Tire Outlet. Tire Outlet is now hiring. Visit TireOutlet.com/careers. Equal opportunity employer.
All right, Mia O'Brien, good morning. How are you?
Hey, how are we doing, gentlemen?
You tell us, what do you make of the Ezra Cleveland deal?
A deal that they were working very diligently on in Indianapolis last week. It's been a priority for them. Look, whether you like it or you don't, this is the type of profile of what offensive linemen they want to have under Doug Peterson. Athletic guys who can play a variety of positions, who have speed, who can pull. And look, if you're going to defend Ezra Cleveland, I will say this. He wasn't healthy when he arrived here, when they traded for him. Then he got hurt again. And I know you're sick and tired of driving around and hearing about injuries, But at least with that guy, they literally traded for a guy who was coming off of an injury, and then he never fully got healthy because he was expected to plug and play.
He hadn't been playing the weeks leading up to the trade.
Correct.
Right, so he literally was out in that period of time. And it's a guy they even said then they could see as being a long-term piece. I think Tony and I have been talking about this, and this is true in a lot of cases, but I think particularly with this, let's see what the market looks like for these guards next week, right? Like, you could have got cheaper. And, not only that, let's see what the actual details of the contract look like, right? The Mike Evans thing, we see it happens every year. We all get sucked in. Oh, my God, he had $52 million, $35 guaranteed. No, it's $41 million, $29 guaranteed, right?
Right,
so
exactly.
What did Ezra get, and what is that initial cap hit, and is it set up that it looks like a 2-year deal as opposed to a 3? So, but at this point, you still believe in that Brandon Sheriff is back in some capacity, right?
I do.
Offensive lineman has to be off the board in round 1, right?
Yes.
You can't draft a guy that's not going to start with the 17th pick.
Right. I agree. I think that it also is, it's a vote of confidence in a guy who I know is very popular on the text line brought to you by Lifetime Enclosures, Cooper Hodges, because it suggests that they're going to have one more year of Sheriff and then they believe the guy is there.
Well, that's the thing. If you do go that route with Sheriff, like if you moved on from Sheriff, you save $9 million in cap space, okay? But how much of that would you need to go get a guy? And then once you get that guy, you're locked into that guy for a few years. So at least this way, especially if they can maybe lower the cap figure for Sheriff, you got him for 1 year, you roll him off, and then you find out. And if Cooper Hodges doesn't show you enough,
then you
got to go and get your longer-term replacement.
And I think that, again, if Ezra Cleveland is healthy, then the thought process is that, you know, rising tides lift all ships, or whatever that, you know, analogy is that I keep butchering on the air, that by having strong guards, that will compensate for perhaps a deficiency at the center position. That was their hope last year, and it didn't come to fruition. They're hedging their bet that it will this year. It'll be curious to see if it pays off for them, because the other part of this, Mike, that I still firmly believe, if the Jags were to get a good offer for Cam Robinson, and by good, I mean a 4th-round pick, take over the contract. He's in the final year of that deal. Heaven forbid it's a 3rd-round pick. I think you're rushing to pick up the phone and say, yes, please take him and give us that 3rd-round pick back for, I don't know, a team like the Washington Commanders that's completely rebuilding their offensive line. Then you say to Walker Little, it's the last year of your deal. Left tackle is all yours, buddy boy. But they also keep saying that they love Cam's moxie and it fits what they want to do. So it's,
you know what? Tali Fuanga has some moxie, and you know, there's Troy Fatano.
Troy Fatano.
Fatano, I can't even say
we call him Troy Fats in my house. And
I finally got to Tali Fuanga. Okay?
Yeah, Talise Fuaga.
Talise Fuaga, but it's Tali Fuanga. Is how
just bring me my Samoan, honestly. Like, if you want to know my honest opinion, Mike, my honest opinion is you trade Cam, you play Walker Little at left tackle. Sure, you have Ezra Cleveland. I would still go out and draft one of those two guys, quite frankly. I think that you have other needs now because of the decision to cut Darius Williams, because of Calvin Ridley probably walking in free agency, so that probably necessitates no Samoan in the 1st round along the offensive line. But I personally would have gone out and gotten one of those guys, said goodbye to Brandon Sheriff as well, plugged him in at guard for a year, then they pop out to either tackle spot, depending what you do with Anton. That would have been what I would have done.
Sure.
I was as surprised as all of you with everything I was told at the Combine last week, both on and off the record.
Yeah, Sheriff, welcome back. We're just going to run it back with that line, and it's going to be so much better than it was last year. By the way, speaking of the Polynesian thing, right?
Yeah.
We once on SiriusXM, we had a guy on. Gosh, I wish I remember which. He was a Nigerian player, and we gave him a Nigerian NFL player spelling bee, right? Because some of those names are really, really tough.
Lewican,
and
Foley Fadokasi.
He crushed it. He missed one guy because he's like, you know, in our country, when you hear a pronunciation, he's like, there's certain letter combinations, and it was very impressive how he did it. But
like talking to a native Irish speaker, it's like, this is what?
I have family members that swear they're speaking English to me. I can't understand a damn word they're saying. I mean,
good to know, because I'm going to Ireland in a few weeks.
Well, my dad was born in Ireland, and I've got like Irish relatives, and you're like, just nod and smile a lot.
Let me ask you this one real quick before we head into XL Primetime. Can you pronounce Ruke, the Clemson defensive lineman, his last name? Speaking of Nigerians,
isn't it Oro?
Oro.
Is it? I thought it was literally like or.
Yeah, it's Oro. There's an O at the end.
There's an O at the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
I loved him at the Combine. I thought he was a great interview, delightful. I hear, he obviously had a meeting with the Jaguars. It went very well from what I was told. He's been a delight for a couple different scouts that I've spoken with. So, hey, listen, I mean, if you get him in the third round.
And it's Ruque, right?
Ruque.
But couldn't you just Ruque?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone needs a good name that sounds like you're booing your hometown fans.
Right.
So, our team. All right, Mia, have a great show.
Thank you.
XL Primetime coming your way. Anything before we get out of here?
I'll just say I think a team trading for Cam Robinson in the best offensive line draft in recent memory would be out of their freaking minds.
Shut up, Tony. We're trying to get a deal done here. All right, by the way, I saw Dune Part 2. Really good. And I thought the first one was like, it's a movie about sand. So there's a whole lot of sand in that movie. But we went to see it yesterday. It was very good. 2 hours 45, so buckle in. It's not a short one. All right, that'll do it for us. For Pockets, for Tony, I'm Mike Dempsey. Tom McManus joins us tomorrow. Thanks to Hayes Carline and Jonathan Cyprian for joining the show today. Stick around for XL Primetime on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today from the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios.